Well, welcome y'all. For the listeners, welcome to the archive. I'm here with my Chingonx Chameleon team. Um, I guess let's just introduce ourselves and then I can tell a little bit about Chingonx Chameleon and what that is. So, I'm the founder and director of Chingonx Chameleon, and you guys are.
I'm Darby.
Hey,
So Darby Clarke.
Darby goes. Darby goes.
I'm creative director.
My name is Kiana. I guess I'm accepting all pronouns at the moment, and I am the director of community outreach.
And I'm Mallory, and I'm the director of operations, and was someone that Sierra interviewed way back when at the start of Chingonx.
Yes, that's so true. Yes, thank you so much. That's a good segue. So basically, Chingonx Chameleon is an extension of a past project called Chingona Chameleon, which I did in, I don't know, maybe like 2015 or something like that. And it was a collection of stories from films across Chicago. So really, asking them what do they value, who are they, just a space for them to author their own narratives and talk about who they are, who they want to be, who they hope to be. Chingonx Chameleon is essentially the same thing, but the purpose of it is to provide more resources, to provide a space where film folks can share their stories, share their ideas, and really like connect with each other. So that's Chingonx Chameleon. You know, COVID thought it had us. Originally, we were set to have a dinner discussing femmehood and our coming of age stories in April of this year. God, this year, yeah. Then everything happened and we've been on pause, but we're back and I just wanted to get the team together so we can talk, so we can reconnect. This episode, the theme is femmehood. Again, we're talking about our coming of age stories. We're talking about our femmehood, like our identities, what shaped us, the stories that we have, the stories that we can share with each other. So yeah, I don't know, for me, even like I guess it sort of started last year. I was thinking about like my womanhood and like at what point did I arrive? I've recently discovered the answer, which is that I am always arriving. I didn't understand it at first, but like literally always arriving at whatever femmehood, womanhood, whatever identity marker is like, dang, I am not there yet, but like kind of sort of. So I guess for y'all, like what was the moment or moments of you all feeling like you've arrived at your womanhood or your femmehood?
Whoa. Wow. First of all, I want to say who doesn't like a comeback? Who doesn't like a 2.0? So I just want to say that even though we were supposed to do this over 6 months ago, or is it? Yeah, it was over 6 months ago now. That who doesn't like a comeback? I think it's given me personally time to even reflect on this concept, which I still don't have a solid answer for, even though I will answer your question. But that's the beauty of it, right? That I'm still learning all the time. And I think through our conversations as a team, I've realized that we have learned more than when we first started planning for the in-person event. And then I think we've learned even more than if we had done the event in April. So maybe, I'm choosing to look at it like a blessing in that way, that maybe this event will be even more centered, better curated, things of that nature. But I think that there's not a moment, right? But maybe I started to feel more comfortable with my womanhood or femmehood, whatever it may be, when I stopped thinking that femmehood meant that I had to be a certain thing all the time. I don't know. I guess it's just society, right? That I thought that maybe I had to perform femininity in a certain way and to keep up with that standard at all times. And when I was doing that on 10, when I was doing that the most, the best, then that's when I was like my true femme self, or that was when I was my true like womanhood self. But the more that I realized that I can like break free of boxes that I put myself into and boxes that other people may have put onto me is when I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually really fuck with my femme identity, because I know it doesn't mean I have to act the same way every day. It does not mean I have to dress the same way every day, because that isn't indicative of who I am at my core. So my core is always the same. And that's why I feel the comfortableness that I feel with these words now, but it definitely hasn't always felt that way. So, but I agree with you, Sierra, is that it's always changing. Like my answer might be different in a year, but I really like the mental place that I'm at right now with these concepts and ideas.
I agree 100%. Like while you were talking, Kiana, I was thinking, as weird as it sounds, 2020 being in quarantine and also being out of external like eyes of people has really solidified my own like womanhood and femmehood, because I'm just like, who gives a fuck about what I look like? Like I don't, like superficially, like don't have to shave my legs because like who's gonna look at them? One, only me, or my armpits or whatever, superficially, but also being inside and reflecting and being forced to reflect, and also being forced to look in the mirror to be like, all right, what am I comfortable with? What are my values with myself? And obviously, like, those stay the same. Like, those are foundational. My values, my core, and how I want to present my womanhood or femmehood is always changing. So I feel like at the moment, I'm arriving still. But, like, in this point in time, I do feel comfortable in my own skin and comfortable in my femmehood. Just, like, what that will look like later, who knows? I don't really care right now. I'm really happy with who I am. And with Chingonx and thinking about even when you said 2015, Sierra, it was like, whoa, my idea of femmehood at that time is so different than what it is now. That was like 5 years ago. My idea of femmehood was the stereotypical, like, oh, I'm gonna be thin, I'm gonna look like this, XYZ, but that wasn't who I wanted to be. Like, my idea of femmehood has always been being strong in myself, strong in my family, strong in my values, because that is what has been presented to me. What that looks like on a physical standpoint, who cares? Like, I've known that, but it's just like being around other women and being influenced by society's image of women really fucked with my perception. And now, like, not seeing that and not having to expose myself to that anymore has been really validating and really nice. And it's good to connect with my inner self again. So inwards, femmehood all the time, outwards, it's changing. What that might look like, who cares?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that, Mallory. I was thinking about it more leading up to this podcast than I normally would, and I totally agree with you on that. Femmehood for me is very internal. I don't really think of myself as physically feminine, although of course I've got all the, you know, the markers of being feminine. I just don't think of womanhood or femmehood for me as something external. So that is something I totally agree with. It's something from within, how I'm feeling, how I'm, you know, if I'm being strong, or, you know, it's more internal values.
Yeah, for me, like, thinking about what you are saying about how it's been internal, I realized that that was me as, like, younger Sierra, like, for sure. Like, I was, like, I also, like, didn't grow up in a household where, like, my mother, she grew up as, like, quote-unquote tomboy or whatever, and so she's always just been chilling. Like, you know, if we're in the house, we're in a break, we don't gotta get our hair done, we don't gotta, like, we can look a mess or however, you know, people call it or whatever. And so I always grew up with, like, my physical doesn't determine my, like, who I am or how I identify. It just is, and, like, you do what you want. Like, you know, if I'm being, like, I don't know, a typical, like, what they associate with, like, masculine behavior or whatever, then, like, that's just me, you know? And I was, like, really confident and, like, comfortable in that as a young person. And then I think I would say, like, maybe, like, post-grad, I don't know, there's, like, this shift in me that I was like, I have to show up a certain way. Like, I'm grown. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the heck happened, but it was just, like, this, like, this thing that was, like, so central to, like, my identity is now no longer here. So let me think about myself in a different way. Start thinking about, you know, how I'm showing up, like, physically, mentally, all these things. And for whatever reason, I'm just like, like, I I don't think I consciously thought, I'm not woman enough, but I think I sort of moved or like moved in a way where I was like not always sure of like that identity marker. And so last year, a friend of mine, she had a baby, which I'm so excited about. She had a baby, and that was like my second time seeing him, and so cute. And my goal in life, like one of my goals in life, is to be a mother. My goal. We'll just put it out there. That's my goal. Not looking for it anytime soon.
Any takers? Any takers?
Oh, well, no. We gotta go through a screening process. But that is certainly like a goal of mine. And like, for a minute, I was like attaching that to womanhood. If you're a mother, you're a woman. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you are married, you're a woman. Like, if you do all these things, then like that is it. And then I think also it's a level of like, once you openly like say something, then you like release it. And so I was talking to them, like we have like 2 other friends in our friend group, and I was like, when did y'all feel like it? Like, when did you feel like you reached the point? And none of them had an answer for me. And really, I guess the question wasn't like, it was rhetorical, and I wasn't really asking them, but I was probably, really just asking myself. And then after like talking to them about it, I was like, oh wait, like I don't have to prove anything to anyone else. Like, I can name myself a woman now. I could name myself a woman at 40. I could name myself at whatever point, and like it doesn't really matter. As long as I, like all you all are saying, like as long as I feel comfortable on the inside with who I am, then like it's chill. And it's like I don't know. I feel like it's such a like that's not something that we talk about often. Like no one really talks about like once they enter womanhood, like at any stage, even if you get your first menstrual, it's like, not to say that defines you as a woman, or like not all women experience menstruals or whatever, but like that's another step, that's another something. But no one really talks about like, what does that mean for how you feel on the inside? How, like it's either hypersexualized and like don't get pregnant, which is like, whoa, I don't know, I'm just bleeding, I'm trying to figure that out. Or it's like totally dismissed. And so like, where's that middle ground where you can like find yourself in all of these like different, I don't know if it's milestones, but different just like thresholds in life.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever had, like, I didn't grow up in the family, at least my immediate family, in a household that put markers on womanhood. And I'm not naming that as positive or negative. I just, while you were saying that, I realized that wasn't something anyone ever said to me. No one ever was like, once you get your period, you're a woman, which I know a lot of people around me had heard. Or once you have sex, you're a woman. I didn't really have that. So I don't know. Now I'm wondering how that may have influenced my idea of womanhood. Like, was mine more fluid because I didn't have this thing that I was going to come to and then be a woman? Or did it hinder me in some way when I was younger because I was wondering, like, when is that going to happen? When do I get to like claim this word, this title? So that's interesting to hear how you put that.
What were y'all like in middle school? What was like?
Awkward as fuck. I feel like I've been reliving my middle school phase right now because that was technically first puberty, and I'm going through second emotional puberty, like internal work. And I've been listening to the music I listened to when I was like 12. Like, I was angsty as fuck. I was listening to like pop rock bands, grunge bands. I'm like, who did I think I was? I had like the hair in my face and just imagine 2008 Tumblr girl. That is who I was. And I'm looking at all these old pictures of me, and I'm just like, that was my true form in that moment. I felt really confident in who I was. Like, even though I felt internally awkward, it wasn't because like I felt awkward. Like, I was weird. I felt weird and uncomfortable because I'm just, my body's changing. I don't like this. And these adults in my life are treating me differently and telling me I should be acting a certain way. But I'm like, no, I feel very comfortably in who I am in this moment. Obviously, looking back, I'm just like, that was cringy. I shouldn't have like posted some of like, I would post like those the compilations of people making hearts, like, you know, like this gifts that people make. Or like doing like really like wholesome internet things at the time. And I'm just like, they're on the internet now, whatever. Um, God, I had braces too. I was just awkward. That's just it. Awkward and uncomfortable with other people, but at the same time, I was just like, you know, fuck everybody else too, because I was just so pissed at the world. For what reason? I don't know. I just knew I had to be mad at the world.
What about y'all?
Oh man, I was also very, very awkward, very shy, kind of, you know, a little withdrawn, but something that I was back then that I wish I was still like now is I would get very excited, very into things. Everything was new, you know. I was just so easily enthused by so many things, and I kind of just want to take that back from little 12-year-old me.
What do you think? Like, what was the shift? What happened? You just got older. You was like, you know what?
No?
I don't care.
Like, yeah, life just puts you down sometimes, and it's just hard to get excited. As you know, I'm still get excited, but not as excited as little innocent Darby, you know. Trying to get that back.
Oh my God, let me second that. If this can give any like physical example to this, I went to a very religious elementary school, and my first year in public school was 7th grade. I didn't really realize how public school went. I don't know, not that there wasn't the typical stereotypical growing up things in the school that I originally went to. Not that there wasn't like popular kids and non-popular kids, but it really was very different. It was a small school. You knew everyone. And then I went to this large public junior high and did not know. I think I knew 3 people that were coming from the school that I went to. And I didn't know what to give a fuck about and what not to give a fuck about yet. So I was so into everything. Anything that was going to happen, I was like, this is great. Like, we didn't get to do this in my other school. We didn't get to celebrate Halloween or have school dances, and all of it was incredible. And we had Spirit Week. I did not know that it wasn't cool to participate in school activities, in the school functions. So I showed up and I'm already way younger than everyone else. I didn't hit puberty and none of it. So I'm tall, I'm really, really scrawny, and I'm awkward. And I showed up on mixed match day with like one tall polka dot sock and one short colored sock. And I had braids on this side, and it was curly, and I literally straightened half of my hair and half of my face this, and I went all in, and I was so pumped to go to school and was just talking about it all week. And then I showed up. I was one of a few people who participated in mixed match day. And the people that did, they wore like shorts over their pants, and that was it. That was as far as they went. And I just remember that soul-crushing moment of like, oh, we're not supposed to do this. No one does this, and you don't want to stick out like a sore thumb in like your puberty years. And I think it just slowly died after that. And I'm currently trying to cultivate more of that, of like, whoa, you're very dramatic. First of all, you get very excited about things, and you want to go all out, and you want to be that person regardless as to if other people are being that person. That's who I was. That's who I feel like I'm definitely bringing back more of now. But she was gone for several years. She was like, you know what? We just gonna do like one color eyeshadow and then no eyeshadow, and that's your mixed match day for the rest of your life. Like, tone it down. Don't be too much. Now I'm like, yes, be the too much, because then you will. It's like that dance floor syndrome of like the first person to go out will only just encourage more people to do it. But I think femmehood growing up in like, you know, I don't know, girlhood or femmehood doesn't really encourage that until you get to adulthood.
Yeah. Well, I will say that you are that girl. Listen, you are the one to be like, hey, I'm here, and like take it or leave it. And I really admire that about you. Like, yeah, no, I think, and I also think that like it is very true that we as like femmes in general, however you come to it, are not allowed in our like younger years to like fully express ourselves or whatever. Like, we just can't do it. we can't do it. You know, we quote unquote can't do it until we reach that like, oh, now you've like matured into something and you're so wise, you can do whatever you want. It's like, you know, how can I get there if I'm never allowed to like fully express and like articulate and like navigate and explore and all of these like fun things that like I deserve. The sad part is that it works on both sides, you know, masculine and feminine, whatever, however you choose to identify, like there's always like all these limitations, but like we're talking about us. So for us especially, you know, like how detrimental that could be. And for me, like in middle school, listen, I was a little annoying a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I was like trying to be like, I'm like sarcastic by nature. I'm stubborn by nature. But I'm also like, I keep to myself, you know what I'm saying? Unless you like enter my space, you know what I'm saying? So all of that, it was like a lot of like little attitudes and just like a lot of little sharp tongues and all this other stuff. But it was still in good fun. It was still like, you know, I was definitely like exploring my limits while also like trying to, you know, ensure that I get the job done. That I follow, you know, I just achieve what I need to achieve, and then I could be a little like sassy on the side or whatever. But I do remember like, and this is something that I thought about recently because they had a Red Table Talk on it around like, did you watch it, Kiana? Around like women, like being jealous of women and like
I did, but I imagine this right now is very red table-y, so I'm glad you brought that in.
Yes, shout out them. But they had an episode about Black women and like their relationships with each other and like the jealousness and the bitterness and all this other stuff. And when I look back on my middle school years, there was definitely a lot of like, I wouldn't even say like, it wasn't even real jealousy, or it was, but I feel like we were in spaces, or at least like we saw images of like women communicating in sometimes like very aggressive or like unnecessarily like demeaning sort of ways. And then like just to look back on myself, I was like, wow, like that was unnecessary, girl. Like you could have just said, I like your shoes. Like if you like it, you like it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what was that? I don't know if you all have had that experience or like what it's been like for y'all. And we can talk culturally or not, like however you want to answer it. But like, what's your relationship with other like femmes, other women?
When you were talking, Sarah, I was thought immediately, because that is so deep within at least like Chinese women culturally, like not necessarily Chinese women, but like Chinese young people in general, like parents pit each other against each other, like, oh, this kid's doing better than you, why aren't you doing better than them? But like even on a deeper level with like Chinese American women, I definitely feel that. I felt that growing up, because like just backstory, my elementary school is literally 85% Asian Americans, and so everyone was already competing like emotionally and mentally, like on a cultural level, trying to be the best academically or trying to be like this facade of a person for their parents. And like within the Asian women community, people were like fighting over boys. It's just like, oh, I have this boy's attention, so like I'm great, like I'm this like epitome of what a girl should be because I have like multiple men fighting over me, which is just like, how the fuck do you know that when you're 12? Like, first of all, it's just like, why are you fighting over that when you're 12 years old in middle school? And I'm even thinking about when I went to high school. So I went to a selective enrollment high school. I like to call it like the Gossip Girl private school, a public school, because it was. And it literally was just a whole other layer because you put in like race too. And there's just white women specifically and white people pitting literally, like it's the epitome of what white supremacy was, but I didn't have that language then. It was just like, all right, women, like you're gonna be fighting with one another, like you're gonna be fighting over like men in this way. And it's just like, oh, this girl is the prettiest. And there was a whole ranking system within my high school too, like that white boys made, just like, oh, who's the prettiest, like who are the prettiest white girls, who are the prettiest like Asian girls, or like they went in depth and no one did anything. And I'm just like, wow, these men are really forcing women to pit us against each other and have that internalized. I'm like getting all worked up about it, just like thinking about it, because it makes me so mad to think about, like, as a young person, I didn't know, like, I didn't have that language or have role models to go to talk about that. Because I'm just like, well, what the fuck do I do? I'm just gonna go home and live my life because this isn't important to me. But at the same time, it does affect my own emotional state about how I view myself. It's just like, okay, I have to present myself in this way, have to present myself in this femmehood, I have to like play up sexuality. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, what does sexuality even mean as someone who has never really explored that, and like thinking all the way how my body was already hypersexualized before like I even had any idea what that meant to me. And it's just like, uh, but I'm also looking at the questions that you sent us in the Google Doc to reflect to Sierra. So I'm just like, what was Sierra's original question? But my jealousy of women has never existed until men come into a factor. That's what I've realized. It's just like I have never been jealous or angry or bitter towards other women until men come into the picture, and then like their ideas of what women should be or shouldn't be, that makes me bitter and angry. But I'm just like, why the fuck? I never thought that. Like, I come from a household where it's all women. I live literally in a matriarchy. Like, my grandmother, I live with her, my mother, me and my sister, and my dad and my brother, just like, they're chilling. But it's essentially like a matriarchal household. So it's like, in my mind, women are always given the same, if not more power, just because who else, I don't know, like, to me, women at the core are strong and resilient, also are the reason why we're all alive. But that's the one part I never understood until I got older. Like, I never understood that I didn't have to pit myself against other women, and it was other people, specifically men, telling me that, or like women who like are upholding patriarchal values are telling me that. And now I'm just like, men suck. All men suck inherently. That's it.
Whoa.
In my opinion. Like, I mean, like, it's like cis heterosexual, like very traditional patriarchal men. That's it.
I respect your opinion, Mallory. Were
You
you
know, sorry, yeah, to go off of that, when I was reading through that question, I was thinking about how, for me, I've honestly noticed it more in my later years in life than in my younger years, because, you know, my younger years were very sheltered. I went to a very small school. It didn't come into play as much. But lately, I'm in my industry. I'm a photographer. It's very male dominated, the photography industry. And whenever I do run into another femme, and I'm not sure if it's an act for them. I do know it is for me. I put on this persona of not necessarily not feminine, but playing it down and, you know, dressing in a very gender neutral way, acting more tough, like no bullshit, you know, just, you know, playing down personality really is what it came down to. And it does lead to contention between other women in my field, which is kind of too bad. But, you know, I just try to think of it as, you know, it's not personal, it's work. You do what you got to do, but it is too bad, because when you come across another femme in my industry, like, that's exciting, but, you know, it's what it is, I guess.
Mine was the opposite of yours, Darby. I felt extreme competition and jealousy all throughout growing up, and then have shed those layers as I've gotten older, but then have realized that they've come back in other ways, and I'll speak to that in a second. But I wanted to pull this up, and I don't know how well this image is going to show up, but this is a painting by one of my friends, my best friend's partner, and I'll read it first and then I'll show you. It says, "All the girls for the bathroom." and there's these different people and they're staring in the mirror, and the comments out loud are, oh my God, what is this girl staring at? Like, that girl ain't washed her hands. Like, all these comments that these people are saying. And then the one girl that they're talking about, I guess, her thought bubble is, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I wonder where she got her braids done. And when I saw that, I was like, I just relate and connect so much. And so I don't know how YouTubers do this. I don't know if y'all can see this, but just to get some of the like color and imagery in there. So important, so important. And I was like, sometimes when you don't know how to say nice things, they just come out in all of these other ways. And sometimes compliments in my younger years from myself or from others would just come out so harsh or so jaded, or just they would not be conveyed the way that we really wanted to say, like just kind things to each other, or that we loved each other or had this appreciation for each other, but they would just come out very catty, or they would come out very just real salty. And it's so unfortunate, like you said, Darby, that's the word that we use for it. It's so unfortunate. And I think as I got older, just enough people telling me and hearing the message enough times, I began to let that go. But then I realized that this competition and this binary and all these things reproduce themselves every fucking where that I am. And I thought then when I really immersed myself in the queer community, I wouldn't feel that anymore. And then I realized that a lot of us in the queer community, I can't speak for everyone, but I've heard it time and time again, also play this competition of like, who is queer enough and who is not. And it's like, when you're younger, if you are a girl or a femme and you experience like, who is woman enough or not, or who is this enough or not, like that always reproduces itself in all of these places that we go. And so even though our conversation is specifically about that, I just wanted to bring up like that enough piece, and that this versus that piece is in just pervasive in so many areas of our lives and so many experiences that we maybe share or don't share. And that's fucked up. And I'm not even gonna like try to come up with a solution this moment. I just want to state that it's messed up. And I do think though that there's power in naming. Thank you, Audre Lorde. And that the more that we can name these things, the more that we can call them out, like the better that we can just, work to eradicate them more.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, whoa. Lately, I have been very emotional, and I don't know where it's coming from.
No!
I don't know what this version of myself is, but like, heard you. Clearly, it spoke to me. Yeah. That makes me think about this whole idea of the divine feminine. And I don't know everyone's like where they are with that, and like hearing that word and knowing that word, but not a fan. I think I love the sentiment. I love the regality of it. It's very like high esteemed. I think like a lot of the conversations center that idea of like being woman enough, and specifically being cis woman enough, and like all of these things that, and while as a cis woman, like I love my menstrual, I love the fact that I can produce a child if that happens, I love the fact of like all these other things that are associated with it, but like also I'm much more than that. Like I feel like this idea of the divine feminine is so centered on like these physicalities and like these like social norms or whatever, and it doesn't always allow for, I guess it can be defined however a person defines it, but I would say like as a whole it doesn't always allow for the expansiveness and like this ability, like you said, Kiana, to like break free of like all of these labels either you choose or are placed upon you. And so yeah, I just think that I think the divine feminine is dangerous, and kind of it can be counterproductive a little bit, simply because like I don't know, it kind of feels to me like this whole like Black excellence thing, or like it's so like you have to be so straight and narrow. You have to fit a certain mold in order for it to be accepted in a certain way. And it's like, I am messy. I am human. I like Mallory. I don't always be shaving my legs. I'm not always like, no one has time for that. Like, I'm trying. There's 12 billion things to do in a day, and like, I did 5. Like, I'm trying to get to the 6th one. You know, like I don't have time to be this perfect image of what you all or whoever the you alls are, but like what the people are defining as like a woman or a femme or a person or like all of these things. Obviously that was all my opinion, but like I am also interested in what you all think, and like have y'all even like come across this word, and like what's been your relationship to this idea of the divine feminine?
I've heard it a lot. I've heard it a lot, and I've specifically, I tend to hear about it in relation to Blackness. I'm not saying that other people don't use the term, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know where the term comes from, so I don't know what its origins are, but so I associate the two together, and it feels very ho-teppy to me a lot of the times, which is, Sierra, to me, what you're talking about, like this essentialism. That the divine feminine is essential to the like female body parts and what they may produce and like turn out, and that, you know, that's not everyone's experience. So I don't have a positive relationship with that phrase. I know it definitely is positive for so many people. Like, I want to leave room for that. But me personally, I've just never experienced it in a way that felt true to me. It never empowered me. It never made me feel like I was badass. It never made me feel like, I don't know. It just, yeah, I don't hate it. It just wasn't anything awesome for me, I guess, I would say. And I wonder if something, just not just this, but all of the things that we've been saying, I wonder what the intergenerational piece is here. I know that we're all around the same age, and that's something that we talked about originally when we were going to do the in-person event for Chingonx Chameleon, and it was going to be focusing on femmehood and like coming of age, but then also femmehood of just people of varying ages. Like, what do the young people have to say? The people that we are reflecting on, the middle school selves, the high school selves, it's easy for us to now look back and be like, you know what? Yeah, younger Mallory was really angsty and this and that, but like that Mallory then was very justified and valid in all those whatever messy feelings. And I want to know, like, people that are, you know, older than us who have way more time to reflect, like, what do they think? What is this intergenerational piece of, how does femmehood even work, like, beyond our 20s, since that's what we're in? And I think the 20s, I don't know, tends to be the age that we're allowed to be messy, and we're allowed to like grow a lot, and we're allowed to say like, fuck all these teenage years, but then I don't know about these like later years in life because that seems really far away, and like what happens to those people because we don't really hear from them. So I don't know, that may have totally thrown things off and put us in a different direction, but I am just so curious about how femmehood really does just change. I'm sure it just changes, and it might go backwards, and then it might come back around to what you originally thought. I think it's the most fascinating concept to see how this continues to like play out over our lives, just through experience and then the people that we meet, and the more that we get to learn just by being in these conversations and being connected through media and social media and globally. Oh my God, like that's a conversation that's never really been able to happen like this before. So those are my thoughts about that.
I'm not gonna lie, like I've never really looked into the words divine feminine, femininity, divine feminine. I just Googled it, so that's why I was looking on the side. I've like seen it on Twitter every now and then. I'm just like, whatever. But quick Google search, they're all mostly like images of white women, which I'm like, interesting. Like, or of like the like. Right in Google, it's either like white women or like there's this image of the Virgin Mary like as a vagina. I'm just like, interesting. I know, like right in like the top 3 Google images, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And I click on some of them, and it's just like divine feminine, like will heal, will inspire, will get into with your emotions. And then there's like the opposite, divine masculine is just like, oh, it like wants power, it will destroy, like it leads. And like that doesn't make sense to me. Like those two separate things don't make sense, because I am leaning towards, I don't really vibe with this, because everyone is inherently like, everyone has power. I don't know. I don't like this, because I've been lately connecting more with the idea of like nature, or connecting more with like internally with my ancestors. It's just like, all right, what spirits do they leave in me, and what will we create together within nature? So it's just, I don't know. I don't really like it. It kind of, initial thoughts about divine feminine, just the images that come up, and just who is writing about it. Like I'm clicking on a couple articles, it's mostly white women writing about it. So I'm like, I'm just like, I don't know, but it doesn't taste right, like in my mind, of how it would define me or other people that I know.
Yeah, I haven't had much experience with or interaction with the word divine feminine or term, but I did look into it a little bit, and it does have a religious background. You could probably guess by divine, but I think something I learned when I was looking into it is the divine feminine could be is a trait that is in women as well as men. And a man can have divine feminine, should have divine feminine aspects to them, as well as divine masculine, and same with women. But I don't know. I was asking a friend about what she thought of it, because she makes, she's an artist who works with very religious topics, and she said it did come up a lot in just in her work, but I'm not sure if it was positively or negatively, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. But just so that you did know, Mallory, it was something that anyone could possess.
I think that, like, by talking about it in terms of like it is a part of everyone, that opens up the door for so many possibilities. At least how I've seen it, how I've come across it, like online, it is very like OD, like, divine feminine. It's like if they were cursing at you in caps on the internet, like that was it. And like it just felt so like abrasive, and so it basically feels like y'all want me to be your mother, and I'm not your mother. I'm not your mother. And like, I'm not here to care for the whole world. Like, I have no problem with giving. I have no problem with sharing. I have no problem with expressing care and expressing love and all of this stuff. But I am not responsible for the whole world. And I think that like these sorts of terms, and like just how femininity and femmehood and womanhood and girlhood is just the limitations that are placed around us, the basis of it is you must care for the world. You must be responsible. Here, little girl, little child, little person, 4-year-old, here, take care of everything and everyone. And and in that, like just how we were talking about earlier, like then we don't have the time or the space to explore ourselves in the way that like the ways that we need to. So then when we get older, it's like, oh man, like, okay, I gotta retrace my steps. I now have to do all the work of like unlearning so that I can get to the point of just being myself in whatever capacity that is, which is why I think like for us to have this conversation, even if not like super intergenerationally, like for us to be thinking about this is like major, because lots of women that I've come across in my life didn't have, either they had kids or they were married or they had all these other like responsibilities in their 20s that they just didn't have the time or the space to just, chill out and talk about these things with like their peers. But yeah, like I'm not trying to be your mom, bro. Like I don't got no kids. I want them, but like if you don't come for me, like I'm not trying to like overly exert myself. And that's something that I also realized in terms of like arriving or like constantly arriving to womanhood is like I don't I don't always gotta like put on for you. I don't always have to like give myself. I don't always have to share. I don't always have to like open up. I don't always have to, like if I do something, it is a choice and like that choice should be received and respected and like vice versa. Like if you do something, it is a choice and like I am embracing that choice that you've made so long as it's positive, and productive and like a healthy thing. But like it's all choices that we're making and I am choosing not to give up myself for you or for like someone else. Yeah, y'all.
I feel like I learned that lesson from you. Honestly, you're one of the main contributors and main factors that I heard those words, like heard them, not just listened to them, but heard them. You said that to me probably over a year ago, just in conversation, and they have been digesting ever since.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That means a lot. 'Cause, your girl be saying some things, and sometimes she don't always hear herself. But
Right.
at this point, I am certainly listening. So I'm glad that you heard me before I heard me. But we talk a lot about, or we've been talking about, or it's been coming up a lot of like the body and like how things are just so tied to the body for we all know the many reasons, but like just for y'all, what has your relationship to your body been like, and also what has your relationship to your mind been like?
Well, I I guess I will start with body. Um, Growing up, I didn't really have much contention with my body. I know it's not very common, but I like I said earlier, was in a very small community in my young adult life. I wasn't allowed to consume social media, so I didn't have those outward ideas pushed on me of what I needed to be or what I should be. I kind of came into that on my own, so didn't really come into play much. My negatively at least, as much as most young people. But so it's been actually kind of recently that I've had some contention with my body, and it was chronic pain. And dealing with chronic pain was very new to me because it just came on very suddenly. And I've kind of had to keep reminding myself that I can't blame my entire body for the one thing it's not doing right. I have to, there's so many things your body has to do just in 1 second, to keep yourself functioning. And just that one thing is not a reason to like hate on your body. You should love it. You should try to love it because it's doing so much for you. It's housing your soul. I need to keep remembering that because it's just very easy to blame than accept. In terms of mind, very different conversation. But I guess I didn't really allow my thoughts to wander much growing up, and I kind of, I don't know, I maybe thought I was afraid to see what I would think if I allowed myself to wander in through my thoughts. And that led to my detriment once I started to experience the hardships that come with living. And I, they couldn't keep pushing my thoughts away. So that was a big learning curve, I guess, maybe like 2 to 4 years ago was that learning curve for me. And just allowing myself, time to not always be stimulated so that I could just sink in, like check in with myself. How was my day? How am I feeling today? Just go through how I am, how I'm feeling. And that's pretty important to me now. And I always, take some time out of my day to do that. Usually in the shower. Don't know why. It's just when I feel like I get my thoughts in, I don't know. That's me.
Me and my body have a very complicated relationship. I have to say that. Definitely a complex relationship with like eating, complex relationship with exercise for negative reasons, not necessarily like for movement or recharge reasons, and unlearning, disruptive and destructive habits there internally and within like my own household. So complicated relationship with my body. However, reconnecting with it more, just because I can with meditation, just sitting in it and just I'm happy in my body now. With my mind, definitely been very complicated too. I feel like while you were talking, Sarah, about earlier of the expectation for femmes to raise or to like support or to heal or to like have literally everyone else's back with their own, like I definitely, like more or less I felt that like at a very young age because I'm the oldest of my 3 siblings. I live in a multi-generational immigrant home. So it's just like from the very, very beginning of my life, like my first earliest memory was always take care of your brother and always take care of your sister. It's just like there's always someone you have to watch over. But then like, okay, then who's watching over me? Like the fuck? I'm caring for all these other people, but I'm in charge to care for all these like even adults in my life, like the emotional well-being of my parents or my grandparents, or doing like everyday things for them, like translating or being a caretaker in one way or another. So like with my mind, I feel like I've never, up until now, when I forced myself to like take a step back and create boundaries, one with my family and also with myself to unlearn those, tricky boundaries with my family. Just thinking about, okay, who am I outside of them? Who am I? Like, how am I supporting myself? How am I supporting other people in my life who I care about, who I'm mutually also getting support back from? It's just like there's a breathing in of like, okay, I can take in this information, take in and support and like take in like other people's feelings and emotions, but how much am I exuding? And if there's like an imbalance of the in and out, it's not gonna work. So going to therapy, it's been great. Going to therapy to talk about that. I definitely felt a lot what you're saying too, Darby, is just like, cause I've been so busy focusing on other people or like in a house where the importance of like women in the house is to worry about other people and create community with each other and for other people that I haven't been able to sit down and just daydream, or I don't give myself the permission to do that. Of course, unlearning that, it's harder than it is. It's hard to do every day, but at the same time, it's just like it's a process. And honestly, like I definitely have talked to Sarah about this a lot. Like I find joy in my own company. I find joy being alone, and I find joy of like being in my mind because, well, one, anxiety is a bitch. It's like it's overwhelming, but at the same time, it's like no, I find genuine joy in my thoughts and genuine joy in things I'm interested in creating. So trying to have a better relationship with my body, mind, and internal thoughts. It's hard.
Whoa. Just feel like it really needs to exhale. Y'all just said so many things that I am so appreciative of. And I don't necessarily feel like I'm gonna cry, but I just feel a lot like just stirring. A lot stirring. Like my body's like actually buzzing right now. I feel a lot stirring. Yeah, I relate so much to that. And yet we each have like our own, unique things in those stories. My relationship to my body and mind. I can't stop thinking about what my current situation is with my body. So I'll speak on that first, and then maybe like how I used to feel about it will come up. But right now I'm feeling a lot of things about my body, because I'm very questioning of my own gender right now. So that just unfortunately calls my body into question, even though I don't think that they're the same thing. Like I would love for this to just be a mental conversation with myself right now, but it's making me rethink a lot about like my little physical flesh and like how I look or how I want to hide certain parts or accentuate certain parts. So I don't know, my body just always is at the forefront of every fucking thing that I'm doing. And it's not that I don't want to shade my body. I fucking love my body. But I wish that it wasn't always the topic of conversation. I wish that it was not always tied to everything that I'm speaking about. But as a person with several marginalized identities, it kind of feels hard not to talk about my body, which sometimes I feel is unfair. Sometimes I find myself watching certain TV shows or reading certain things of people who I assume don't think about their body as much as I do, just because I want to like project myself into their life sometimes and just wonder what it would be like to just live a day where I'm just like going about my day and I'm not thinking about how I feel about my body in a certain situation, or what my body is being portrayed to be in a situation, or is it making me safer right now, or is it making me put in a potentially harmful situation? Like, I don't know, body's just always on my mind. Something positive I do want to say is that I actually got a tattoo recently, almost a month ago to the day. It's my first one, and it has helped my body, like helped my relationship with my body a lot. I was just saying this to a friend on FaceTime last night that I said, this probably is really terrible advice, so please don't take it, but I'm going to say this sentence anyway because I fuck with it so heavy right now. I was like, if you have body image issues, just go get you a tattoo. I promise you will think so differently, even just temporarily, superficially, you will think so differently about your body. And like this last month, just staring at this new thigh. Did y'all know I have a new thigh? I have a new thigh right now. And this new thigh has been everything. Looking at this thing that I chose to do to my body. We don't choose the bodies that we come into in this world, and they often fluctuate so much. Like, I don't know, like we're different colors throughout the year. If you live in an area with different seasons, your hair is going to grow differently. You're going to dye it. Your weight will fluctuate. Your fashion statements will fluctuate. But for me, I don't know, something about a tattoo, I was like, I'm choosing this thing on my body permanently. And it's going to be here when I'm 24, and it's going to be here when I'm 64 and 84. And I don't know, there was something about like just this 100% me thing. This was no one else. And no matter what my body goes through, this will always be here. And there was something really comforting about that. And I just love the way it looks. I love what it represents. So maybe that's not great advice, but somebody out there needed to hear that. So I'm just going to say tattoos could be helpful. And my relationship with my mind goes along with my body. I don't really think of them as separate when I think about the qualms and the victories that I have about my body. Like that has to do with my mind, and what I feel about my mind is influencing my body. So yeah, I don't know if I want to necessarily speak to like my mind as separate, because I feel like that was intertwined in all the things that I just said. But yeah, I don't know. I appreciate that we have so many so many similar threads in what we're saying, even though they're coming out very differently. I think that's really dope.
Yeah, one major takeaway from that was like choice and like being able to make your own choices and stand in your own choice, and like how that like 100% me, like how powerful that is and how often we don't allow ourselves to get to that point. I feel like similarly with Darby of like, you know, not allowing your thoughts to wander and like having had that be like my reality, or like, or for me, it wasn't necessarily like my thoughts wandering, but it was more of me vocalizing my thoughts and like my inability to share, you know, out of, I wanted to protect myself, wanted to make sure that like, no, you can't disrupt my bubble here. Like, this is my bubble. Like, no. And then having to realize that like, they don't define my, like, you know, if they're upset, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Maybe we can figure it out together, but like also that's not my problem, you know. And like that's more of like a recent discovery for me, so I'm not gonna act like, oh, I know it all. But it is something that's like, having been on the other side, it is a huge victory for myself, and like how wonderful is it to just say to say what you feel, how you feel, stand in it, and like not allow someone else to like waver you in any way. And also like with Mallory, I guess I like forgot, or I didn't forget, I just had repressed it. But like around eating and like that like body situation, I wouldn't say that I had an eating disorder, but I would also use the word disruptive. I had disruptive like eating patterns at one point in like middle school, high school years, and sometimes I go out and I eat, and I like, my mother was the one who like knew, she knew everything, she knows everything. But sometimes I'm outside like eating with her, and I'm like, wow, do you remember, like, I couldn't eat in front of other people. Like, I could not do this a couple of years ago. And, like, now we're here, and now we are, like, I literally don't care. Like, I'm not here for you. I'm not here for someone else. I'm here to eat. And how, like, just that shift in my body is, like, completely different. And just, yes, like, your body changes. You know, some days I'm like, ooh, I do not know this girl. And other days I'm like, my jeans are fitting. You know what I'm saying? And it's such a, like, there's just so many things that happen all the time. And, like, lately I've been able to sit in it and, like, be calm about it. And, like, it is just another aspect of you. It is that like arriving moment. Like it's always happening. It's always gonna be something different. I realized the other day, and I was talking to my mother, I was like, dang, you ain't never been this age before. You have never experienced this day before. So like, even though you're like a grown woman, a wife, a mother, all these things, you've never experienced this before. And like, you are still learning how to do these things. And like, whoa, that's me. Like, I've never been like, I've been 24 for a couple of months, but I've never been 24 on this day before, you know? And so like, whoa, like this moment is totally different from the last moment, and how like, how wonderful is it to be able to explore all of these like, just different aspects of yourself each day and each moment. And I think that also has to do with like, my mind, like I said, like lately, like this stuff is very new. It's very like 24 Sierra is different, you know what I'm saying? But like even in the past, you know, just like being so like isolated and like forcing myself to be in a confined space and not express myself and all these things. And now it's like, yo, I'm here, like, I don't know what you want, but, like, I know what I want, and, like, even if it's, like, messy and I, like, kind of don't know, but, like, I kind of have like an end goal in mind. I'm still gonna like work my way to get to that point. Um, and I think that like allows for me to be the most expansive, and like I'm just really open right now. I'm open to experiencing like lots of different things, whether it's love, whether it's care, whether it's just like joy, whether it's whatever. Like I'm open, and I think that along with like my femmehood and my womanhood is just like it is like the essence of like at least what I had hoped to discuss, and I think we did an excellent job. But the essence of like your femmehood, your womanhood, your girlhood, your whatever hood you want to identify as is really just you being able to be open into what is out there, the good, the bad, like everything in between, and like you just making the choice of saying like, hey, I'm gonna be present, and like it may be uncomfortable or I may not know or whatever, but like, yo, I'm here, and like this is me, and like this is my experience, and this is gonna get me to whatever the next point is. Do I necessarily know what that next point is? Maybe, maybe not, but like here I am. Yeah. I want to thank y'all so much. I'm really happy to have talked to y'all. Like, low key, this morning was a bit rough. It was just like chaotic in my mind. And so, like, being able to, I was excited to do this in general for like months. Y'all don't know that I was planning to do this with y'all for a while. But also, just like, I just learned more about y'all in different ways. And so, I think that that's always helpful and like fun as friends and in like real life. But yeah, do y'all got any other questions or comments that y'all want to add, or like, yeah.
I did want to say, I'm so happy you asked us the question, when did we become a woman, or when we became femme? Because no one's ever asked me that. And I honestly still don't know the answer. And I do want to ruminate on it a lot. I think it's really important to just think about. So I just wanted to thank you for asking that.
Of course.
Well, thank you, all of you, for being vulnerable too in this space. Like, I know a lot of the times that, at least like I personally like have a hard time being vulnerable and being like verbal with how I'm feeling sometimes. So I really appreciate you all stating and saying your experiences and where you're at and what you wanted to share today. That I'm gonna take little like nuggets and ruminate on some of the things that some of you have said like in my heart, because I genuinely, it touched me. Like, as weird as that sounds, like it touched my soul. It really touched me in a positive way.
Same, girl. You know I don't cry. I don't know. I've been crying recently, and I don't know.
We've been letting it out. Once you open up floodgates, they flow, baby. They flow.
I was like, I didn't even know I had tears, bro. Like, crazy. I was like, I was born. I might have cried, maybe, but like all this other in between stuff. So why? And then I was just like, oh, we're here.
Oh God. Oh my God. Yeah, I literally took notes while some of y'all were talking, because I'm like, wait a minute. They just said a really good thing, and I don't want to mess up how they phrased that. This was great. This was phenomenal. I do have one question for everybody. Since I mentioned the tattoo, I'm kind of curious if there's a thing that y'all have done physically, if there's any change or any addition, anything that you've ever done physically that has really made you feel really fucking good about like, this is me, and what I did just enhance that or just portrayed that more. Like, is there a thing that y'all have that you did, if it's still happening, what is it?
I definitely have like,
go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely have like specific clothes that bring me energy, or jewelry that bring me energy, like earrings or like outfit combinations or shoes. Like, I know that sounds so materialistic and so superficial, but it's like putting on like like how a superhero puts on their cape or their costume, but it's not necessarily a costume for me. It's like, oh no, like this is like I like the only metaphor I can make is when you charge like your crystals in the sun, and it's just like, okay, this is me. I'm gonna recharge. Like I might not feel my best right now. These clothes like make me feel good, and like this outfit makes me feel good. And it's like this is who I am. This is how I'm gonna show for myself in my body today. And I want to get a tattoo too, Kiana. You like really inspired me, and I'm thinking about. I'm like looking at all the different patterns in my room. Like, what do I want? What do I want? But I don't think I'm there yet. I'm kind of scared of needles, so I'm not there yet emotionally. But on like the physical, it's the clothes and the jewelry or the shoes, like my hair and all that. Like, I don't care. But
That's also how I got inspiration for my tattoo, by the way, Mallory. Is I was looking around my room and something in my room became the tattoo. So that's a good place to start.
yeah,
For me, it's been my hair, which is so funny because I have often been like, no, like I'm not about to feed into y'all old black girl hair and like that'd be the like the epitome of like her life. It's like racism, hair, black women, no, you know. But I've been dyeing my hair since I was like 17, and I've always wanted to get like this color, and I really love it. And then after graduation in 2018, I cut my hair, cut my locks, and that was like, oh my god, I cut my locks. But it was really nice and refreshing, like a nice restart. And I was like, wow, I've never seen my head like this. I've never like, what the heck? Who is she? And then I also realized, you know, that I feel the most comfortable when I have locks. So like I got them again, and like that just it makes me feel so good.
That's so funny, you guys, because I feel like everything you guys brought up, I agree with. I think the two times I've felt like that is when I shaved my head and when I got my tattoo.
I didn't know you shaved your head.
I did. It was so exciting and so terrifying and so liberating. But, you know, that's just so funny. I just agree with everything you guys were saying.
We love that. Well, okay, we're all artists in our own right. We all work in like the arts field and stuff like that. So I know y'all may want people to keep up with you or not. I also feel that too. So if you'd like to share like your, I don't know, social media handles or wherever people can like keep up with you, feel free to do so. And any projects that you're working on, anything that like, you know, you want people to know about.
you got me thinking. It's like, what am I doing?
Also, if you just want people to just, you know, see your face maybe, or just, I don't know. I don't know how people navigate this stuff. I don't know.
There. Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter is Mallory Cheng 19. It's my name, Mallory Cheng 19. I mainly use Twitter backstory. I use mostly Twitter to live tweet city budget meetings or citywide localized meetings for City Bureau for their documentaries program. So if you want to know what's happening in the local city meetings, so follow me. Low key, also an aspiring radio and audio journalist, so follow me. And if you have any jobs, let me know because I'm trying to get out of low key arts admin world because it's not my jam. But hit me up, DM me, and yeah.
Well, my Instagram, I am not very active on it, but you could, you know, hit me up through my email on there. I'm not going to say it, it's too long, but if you wanted to go through my Instagram, it's hungry_art. So original. But, you know, if I'm trying to become my own boss, going freelance, trying. So if you've got any jobs you think might work, I'm a photographer, very good at post editing. Hit me up. That's me.
I got stressed at that question and I wanted to go last because I didn't know what I wanted to share. My personal Instagram is healing is imperfect. That's the best way to, I don't know, find out more about me and reach me. And then I debated if I wanted to share this second piece because I never know who I want to bring to the table when I'm discussing myself, but I decided that I will. And then I'm also a sex worker. And if anyone's interested in finding me in that way, then you can find me on onlyfans.com/AlexisFemme, but respect that those are two different people and two different names and keep those things separate.
We love that. Y'all can follow us at Dig3X. And I also want to give a quick plugger. So next week we will be launching a book giveaway. We have a couple of wonderful artists and writers who have contributed books to our book giveaway. So I'm really excited to share. One of them being super local. Yeah, there's just like a bunch of cool ways to connect with the archive and Dig3X. So I hope that y'all follow us and stay on the lookout for that. Yeah, thank you all so much again. Like, I'm really happy. I'm happy that one, y'all are my friends. I'm happy that two, like, I was able to bring y'all together for this project. And I'm happy, three, that we've been able to like talk about this stuff and like also have time to like decompress throughout these past few months and like be able to come back much stronger. Oh, perhaps I should give a plugger. Like, hey guys, Chingonx Chameleon will be back. It will be virtual. We're aiming for spring 2021. So, you know, the team is here. COVID didn't get us. We're coming back and we're coming back stronger. And yeah, I just really want to give a shout out again to all of y'all. Like, I'm very grateful, very appreciative. Very happy to be in you all's space. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Thanks, Sierra.
Thanks, y'all.